Welcome back to the Breakfast Piano Project, where I'm motivating a mob of mediocre musicians just like myself with my millennial mindset. My name is Miss Lindsey. I'm a piano with Jonny student and also a private piano teacher for those who don't know any better. Here's to another day in the life of me documenting one of my horribly run piano lessons in an effort to become a real musician. People value real-life distractions, and so I'm trying to be one. Now, I've only been self-sustaining my own solo act for about 1 year, and I feel like I've been coming so close to attaining my ultimate audience connection. Having an audience is the only way that you can feel if you are contributing appropriately. You can take a big responsibility over your craft or a small responsibility, but I do believe it's your responsibility to have an audience because regardless of your skill set, it's the only way that you're ever going to be able to hear who you are. Feeling people's emotions while you play gives you a reliable feedback loop of whether your music is really connecting to other people, not just yourself. And what I have noticed in the last year after tuning into my crowd is I have about 5 different perspectives that I will accept within my audience. Enjoy this reenactment of the 5 audience personality types that tend to engage with my live mediocre music displays. The Curious Cat. Whoa, what's that? I'm not sure. I have no identification process for what I'm seeing visually or hearing auditorily. I am both dazed and confused, but the surprise is kind of nice. The Dancer. Oh, look at that. I genuinely like this song. It makes me wanna dance. Looks like I will move my body and feel better about it. The Dreamer. Jeepers, do you hear that? It sounds like nostalgic pop favorites of my past. From the memories that I don't suppress, this reminds me of that one time that I wasn't struggling or suffering. I associate this positive emotion with that starving artist performer right there. I think she's worth $5 or less. The Giver. Incredible. I can't really tell what this person is trying to organize with the sounds coming out of her mouth and the pounding ruckus coming from her fingers. But it's the effort of trying that makes me commend her. I think I'll tip $20 because I feel like helping other people, and that brightens my day. The Old Friend. Wow! Would you look at that? Over there! I think I might recognize that live performing artist as someone I went to high school with. This is an incredible experience as I have my naturally occurring competitively comparison emotions taking over my body, recognizing that when I did sacrifice myself to corporate America, it was for a reason. And her relatively pathetic artistry is the reason why I'm feeling incredible about myself. I think I'll wave from afar, but not get too close or tip because of that giant falling out that we had back in 2008 that we never reconciled. The Perfect Segue. Right now, talking about me, I do not take a big responsibility over my crowd, but I do take a small one, and that is the first step, which is having one. The second step would actually be pleasing them, and we're working on that. I am always trying to become better and more colorful at what the heck I'm doing. And how do I do this? I take lessons on pianowithjonny.com. And then I slowly and methodically take the lessons from Johnny May and his other staff members like John Prue. And he's going to teach us some wonderful 2-5-1 jazz chords today.
Welcome to lesson 2, where we have what's called a short 2-5-1 in all keys. So we're first going to start with our D minor 9. This is the 2-5-1 in the key of C. A voicing, so let's just roll that 2 chord, 3, 5, 7, 9. And then remember, just like we talked about before, we're only moving 1 note when we go to the 5 chord, which is kind of cool when you're looking at your hand. All right, great. So once we're there, now again, we have
Another perfect segue. Now, everybody go at their own pace when you take these lessons. I tend to slow down around lesson 4 or 5 each and every time. This was lesson 2, and I found it to be quite the lazy day in a pajama jazz class. Anyways, what I have been realizing is that recently, in my mind, I've been graduating to a new way of thinking, which is moving myself from hobby player to occupational player. And those are totally different definitions within the real musician grand category. Being a hobby musician versus being an occupational musician is something that I have found is a very big block in most people's brains. For example, a couple weeks ago, I was firing another student for not obeying by the contract terms, and it came down to this fundamental discrepancy of why we play. Are we playing as a pleasure-seeking hobby alone? Wow, I never thought I'd be this pleased with myself. Or are we playing because we want a valuable skill set that will gain us some sort of traction in the future that is constantly self-motivating us without the presence of a teacher? You know, the kind of skill set that'll allow us to waste our time in a virtuous way and not get muddled up in bad choices. You know, that kind of skill set. You know, the kind of skill set that always encourages you to challenge yourself and get out of your in-the-box way of thinking so that you can join a bigger social group and feel love and belonging for having a valuable contribution. Why, yes, I am occupied. I hope you are enjoying this experience, even though I've played this song 6,000 times. Most people want to play for pleasure until music is no longer pleasurable because it becomes work. And then there's this really awkward dichotomy going on right here because I'm supposed to be having fun, but I don't have an effort struggle. And I agreed that this was not going to be work. And then I see a diminished F-sharp 7 chord and I'm like, you know what? Never mind. I don't need to do this very seriously. I'm just going to take a break and procrastinate and remind myself that this is just a hobby and I don't need to have goals. And then when my teacher returns for those really expensive lessons that I keep paying for and encourages me to have smaller, more attainable goals, I'll remind her that this is just a hobby and that I don't actually need any goals and that maybe she shouldn't have any goals either because music's not a real job. Don't worry, as you can tell, I definitely don't take these comments personally. To be occupied by something means that you're willing to spend the time on it continuously, sometimes by choice, but also by responsibility that you have towards contributing and belonging with other people. Music should tie you to yourself and others. We need other people. It's like a little Darwin socialization truth that everyone hates to realize. This truth means that you are nothing without your audience. If you were a tree and you fell in a forest and you farted Elton John and no one was around to hear it, it would not make a sound according to science. What I'm encouraging you to do as my audience and otherwise inspired musicians, if you haven't done so already, is to get an audience that wants to listen to you. This is going to be the key to opening up your heart to everyone. And I'm finding that I am an occupational performer, and making this jump from hobbyist to occupationalist, is that a word? It is now, is quite the jump and very stressful. My artistry is small. My skill set is limited. However, I have to be occupationally serious and provide to the expectation that most people have about a live musician, and that is that they want to relax into their own egos. The best thing I'm realizing about ego identity is you could call yourself whatever the heck you want on the inside, but from the outside, on my piano bench, everybody's ego is pretty much saying the exact same thing. Just so you know, I'm here for you. I'm glad you recognize me, but please don't get too close because I'm fragile. Which brings us to the real problem, which is managing my own ego, and my responsibility, which is to connect and be close to my crowd. And my ego is basically like, that's interesting. Another person's self-identity concept. I wonder if I'm annoying. Egoism is not a bad word. It's just like a personification of who we think we are, which is always wrong, but that's fine. Live in whatever bubble you're in for tonight. We can all just forget about the fact that ego matters or doesn't matter, or that our existence even matters, or that what are we doing with our lives? Any of those processes that put weight on us, we can actually start to sift them out. We can actually relax them from the inside. And maybe if you all relax, I'll relax, and we'll stop the stress loop that's coming from one of us. I'm not sure who it's coming from, but I'm just trying to do my job, and I don't know what it is yet. I'm running a little bit over time, so that this is all I've got for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.